Guys, I got a new chopper and it's covered up right here behind me, and I'm going to show you what it is in just a moment. Guys, my name is Rick and this is the HDVIBE channel. If you've been around the channel for a while, and most of you who watch have been, I mentioned that I wasn't going to be getting a new bike anytime soon, but well, I did, and in today's video we're going to show you what we got. And we're going to get into it right after this. So guys, this story goes back a number of months ago when a company reached out to me and said, hey, would you like to try out one of our choppers? And I'm like, I've been riding Harley Davidson touring motorcycles for a long time. A chopper might be pretty cool, but this one's a little bit different. All right, so let's get the cover off this thing and see what we got. And by the way, this cover that's over this bike came with it. So there it is, guys. That is the Eahore Knight M1PS electric scooter, motorcycle, moped. Well, a lot of that depends on your state and how it's classified. So as it goes, I got a delivery notification from the company that said this Knight M1PS was on the way to my house and would be delivered in a few days. It was being shipped from California. It was coming on a common carrier. So everything looked good. The truck showed up, I was home, I had to be home to sign for it, and it was on a pallet. The driver said, hey, no problem, I got a pallet jack. I said, can we get it into my garage? But in all the driver's wisdom, he had the pallet sort of turned in an odd way in the truck. He turned it one way, he put it on the ramp, but he said, what's in this? And I said, well, it's a moped, scooter, motorcycle. He says, is there anything breakable? And I said, well, it's a scooter or a motorcycle. And he said, okay. So he put it on the ramp and had the back of it on the fixed portion of the ramp. He lowered the ramp and the entire crate just completely fell off of the truck onto the ground. And well, I was concerned, and I think he was too, but as you can see here, he got it back up on the pallet and we got it into the garage, and at that point we had to unbox it, which I would have liked to have shown you how it was packed, but obviously it was packed pretty darn well because fortunately it did not sustain any damage. So let me tell you a little bit about how I had to put this together. And again, I wish I could have shown you how it was all packed up, but I couldn't. I had to really quickly do it while the driver was still here, get it uncrated, check it, and then I had to put it together quickly because the shipping company wanted to know if there was any damage or if the bike would not run because it had been dropped off of the truck. So when the bike arrived and I pulled it out of the crate hastily to make sure that there was no damage, physical damage to the bike, it was about 85% put together. So the first thing I had, and you'll see in the original pictures of when I had it out of the box, is these handlebars were not connected up to the clamp up here. They were just kind of laying across this, what is to be sort of a tank, right? And so I basically had to put those handlebars on. There's knurls on there. You kind of get it lined up, and there's 4 bolts. And the interesting thing is when this arrived, it had all of the tools and everything you need to get this set up. And then what I did is I went ahead and set it up to where it initially, at least, it felt comfortable. So after we got that on, I did have to put a jack up underneath the middle of it because the front tire and wheel was not connected to the front fork, so we had to do that. Okay, so this front wheel was not on here. You basically had to put the axle and these nuts on here, which were included in the box. I had to pick this up, this front tire up, and get it up into these forks, and I also had to slide this brake caliper into the rotor for the brakes on the front brakes. And look at that. I mean, it is a nice wide front tire, and look at that rotor and that caliper. I then had to put the front fender on. There's just 1, 2, 3, 4 mounting points for that front fender on each side, and the bolts were already connected into the forks. I just had to loosen those, slide that fender in, and bolt that down. So the foot pegs, as you can see, they do move. They go back and forth for safety reasons. I guess if you would hit something, that can go back, but they do stay in place very nicely. So you have a couple options on this. You can mount this foot peg all the way back here, or you can put this extension on here, which is what I chose to do. And again, it was just basically 2 bolts here to put the extension on, and then 2 bolts that hold the actual peg onto the extension. And from what I've seen and what I can gather, the clearance between the bottom of the bike and the ground is only a little bit over 5 inches. So if these pegs were back here and you started leaning pretty hard with this, you're gonna hit those pegs pretty quickly. Then we moved up here into the cockpit area. So I had to bolt on the speedometer, and it's probably kind of hard to see, but it's right up here. And there was basically just 2 bolts and also a electronic connection that just plugged right in. We moved on to the mirrors. There was a right and left mirror. There was a place there, twisted those in with the bolt, tightened it up, and then there's a little cap that covers those so that it is protected from the weather. There is a phone holder that will clamp onto the handlebars with just a screw, clamps on there, and it will charge your phone. You can see right here, there's a port where I plugged in, and that will charge my phone from the rear if your phone has that capability. I then had to move over here to the battery. I had to open up this case, and this bike comes with 2 sets of keys to start the bike, and it also has an alarm security system. But I took the key, opened this up, unlocked it, and then you just kind of tap it backwards and this will slide off. And I'll show you where this battery is and how big this thing is. So just like that, lift that off, and there is the massive 72 volt battery that powers this motorcycle, chopper, moped, scooter. So when I put the battery in, it was completely dead. So I had to charge it up with this charging cable and converter that comes in the kit. And again, this is not like a supercharger that you need a special charging plug in your garage or at your house like you would for a Tesla. This just plugs into your standard outlet. Then this cable plugs into this here if you want to charge the battery while it's still on the bike, or you can take this battery out of the bike and charge it separately without using this. There's a plug here on the charger that will go directly into the battery, and you can charge that up. So you might be asking, how long would it take to charge that battery up? It was somewhere between 2 and 3 hours when it was completely drained. Okay, so let's go over some of the basic specs. The range per charge is anywhere from 34 to 74 miles. The bike itself weighs about 187 pounds, so it's not super heavy. The capacity of the bike loaded, so a combination of the weight of the bike plus you, is about 440 pounds, 4,000 watt brushless motor that is in the back hub of the rear wheel. So it is pretty torquey. I have not had a chance to take it out much, but I'm gonna show you how it operates out on the road, but not me doing it. But I think you'll get the idea, because right now it is really raining here in St. Louis, and it's gonna rain for like the next 3 days. So let's talk about the battery. It's a 72 volt Samsung battery, and it has 500 times life cycle. So you can recharge it and run it down to dead 500 times before you would need to replace that big battery that's underneath that cover. The charger is a 13 amp fast charger, and again, for that 72 volt battery from completely dead, took somewhere between 2 and 3 hours. So it's an LED speedometer, odometer, it shows your gears, and also the battery level, which obviously is very important, kind of like your fuel gauge level. You have lights in the front, you have lights in the rear, you have turn signals both front and rear, you have a LED light for your license plate if that would be required in your state. How you register this is going to depend on your state, so I'm not going to give you any specific guidance, but Eahora will send you all of the necessary paperwork, including an MSO, which is a manufacturer's statement of origin, that is then you sign over, they sign it, you sign it, complete it, an odometer statement. Some states require an emissions statement. They will provide that. You will also get a bill of sale, so that if you do need to register it with your DMV, they know what the value is and how to license it. So that was the basic specs. So just from a size perspective, the total length of the bike is about 82 inches, almost 83 inches long. Handlebar height, they say, is 40 inches. Again, you can adjust that so that it's comfortable for you and for your riding style. I've got it set so it's about at shoulder height. It's kind of that chopper look, so it's kind of cool. The seat height is very low, so if you are a shorter person, this is great. It's going to be much shorter than a Harley Davidson. Comes in at about 25.5 inches or so, 25.4 to be exact. The wheelbase is about 61.4 inches, so obviously a lot shorter than a Harley Davidson touring motorcycle, but pretty respectable. The rake on the front is a 40-degree rake, so it is kind of raked out like a chopper, which actually gives it a pretty cool look. All right, that's enough about the bike. So let me just show you how this thing looks when I'm sitting on it and getting ready to ride this. So pretty good rider triangle. Again, these are the pegs. I'm going to be way up here, stretched out a little bit. This is pretty comfortable for me. You can adjust, just loosen up those 4 bolts, and it is knurled up there, so it's not going to go anywhere once you lock it in. You can see there. To change your mode, there's a little button right here underneath your headlight control that you can scroll through, and there's 3 modes, 1, 2, and 3. So 1 is your slowest mode, so if you're just kind of putting around the neighborhood or whatever the case may be, to 3, which they claim this bike will get all the way up to 50 to 55 miles an hour depending on the conditions, the battery charge life, as well as the weight of the rider and what's on the bike. So obviously the heavier you are, it's not going to go quite as fast. I don't know exactly how fast it will go, but I am going to test that out in a future video and give you a bunch of views of how this bike performs out on the road. Again, I've only got 1 mile on this, and I can't get out and show you how to ride this bike today because it's really, really raining hard. But this is a really cool bike, and what I'm going to do, instead of me showing you how I ride it, which I will do in a future video, I'm going to show you how somebody else is riding this bike. So that was somebody out riding it. Again, they claim it can go 50 to 55 miles an hour. Again, how you register this, do you need plates on it? All depends on your state. It varies from state to state, so check with your local DMV if you do decide to get one of these. They are pretty cool little machines. What I am also gonna do is I've hooked up with Eahora. They are working with the channel, and what I have done is negotiated with them to give you guys, if you are interested in this bike, a $400 discount. I will have a specific link and that discount code down in the description to save $400. And you might be asking, well, how much does this thing cost? Well, it is way less expensive than a Harley Davidson Livewire. A Livewire, when they first came out, was well over $20,000. Obviously, this doesn't go as fast as a Livewire. If it's considered a motorcycle, a scooter, a moped, or whatever, it depends on your state. But this comes in at $4,980. But if you take that $400 off that, you can save yourself a little money. They do ship from California. They do say they are street legal in all 50 states of the US. They do work well with you to get all of the necessary paperwork to get to the DMV. I'm still working through that process, so I don't have a plate on this bike yet. I'm not even sure in Missouri if I 100% need a plate on it, so I'm still working through that. But stay tuned, guys. In an upcoming video, I'm going to take this Eahore Knight M1PS out and test this thing out in slow speed maneuvers. I'm going to test it out in the 3 ride modes, see how fast it will go on each one, see how the brakes work, and also test it for myself so I can give you guys a good comprehensive overview after I've been riding it out on the road. So guys, if you want to learn more about everything I've done to my Harley Davidson touring motorcycles, go check out this playlist, check out this video, and also go right up here to subscribe to the HDVIBE channel.